So let's get started. I created a little greeting when COVID hit and when we could no longer see people and be physically in the same space. So I'm going to do that with you. If you can stand, please join me and stand up. So that's the first thing. Now, I want you just to copy what I'm doing. I'm shaking your hand. Let's shake hands. Okay. Shaking your hand. I'm going to give you a high five. Hello. And because I'm a tactile person, I'm going to give you a big hug. Hi. Great to meet you. Great to be here. What a fantastic event. I like to have dialogue. So if you have a comment or a question, please feel free to type it in as we go along. Don't wait for me to say, right, now I'm taking questions. Deal? Okay, that's the first thing. The other thing is this. Wow. So California changes the law and says every publicly listed company has to have a female on board, right? In the boardroom alongside the men. Great news. What happens then? What happens is that there's a run on women who can join the boardroom. And then what happens is they scramble. They can't find the people to fill the positions. And it's feeding off of what Lena said this morning when she said the list of names offered for a vacancy were all men's names. So here's the big deal. If you want to be considered for actually anything, to be honest, a board position specifically, but it could be anything, then you need to be what? Well, let's think about this. Who were the companies in California going to reach out to? What were these women? Where were they? How were they going to find them? Any thoughts? Please post in chat. So here's the question. There's a law being passed. There's a scramble for women to fill positions. Who do they go and find? How do they find them? Any ideas? Well, while you gather yours, it's going to be people who are visible. Thank you, Tariq. Yes. Associations, May says associations, chambers of commerce. Okay. But I want you to think a bit more out of the box here. They ask the people they know. That's right. So imagine this. I need to find somebody. I need to find them quick. And this person has to really shine and add a multi-dimensional thing to my organization. So it's not just about the professional associations, perhaps, but I want to make a big deal out of this person. I want somebody who is visible. Yeah. Somebody who is out there. Ideally, a thought leader, a public figure, as Amal just said. Yes. Somebody who, if I was a journalist looking for a person to talk about an issue, a journalist could find. Yeah. So they're already out there making their own noise. That's really important because it means that A, you are credible. Okay. You tell me what happens, what thought, feeling is instilled when we see people who are on message. They have a message in the first place and they are speaking it, being it, doing it. What do you feel when you see that person, see their name, see them associated with something? Some with a voice in social media, respected platforms, credible, passion. Yes, absolutely. These are really important things. Authentic, right. So this is really important for you to take on board, which is, 1, I have something to say. Am I saying it? Are you? 2, if somebody needs what I do, can they find me? Do they have to belong to an elite, exclusive type of club or really get to you in some weird way? Or can they actually find you? Right? So these are really important. A leader, absolutely. I mean, my definition of leadership, by the way, is people who create new pathways for themselves and for others to walk along. And it doesn't matter what level within the organization you are at. It's actually just that ability to think like that and make it happen. So back to the point. California law, women, board members. If you are visible, guess what? You're more likely to be approached. 2 things to take on board. 1, We've changed from people having to have the C of Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer, etc., in order to be qualified to join a board. This really is the era of drill down knowledge and expertise. That's a very important thing to take on board. What does that mean? That means that if you are great at what you do, then you have that qualification. Ding! The other thing to take on board is it is often a tap on the shoulder. Oh, I know you. I might know you personally, or I know you through your work and your voice. We have a position. Would you consider it? And this is actually the reality for many, okay? So that's a huge thing to take on board, because it is this idea of, am I qualified versus can I do that? The idea of what can I provide and do versus will they allow me to apply, and so on. And the third idea of do and be what you're great at, somebody will tap you on the shoulder. Very important thought shifts there, right? I want to share a couple of things that happened in the last week, literally. Last week, I was contacted by a woman. She didn't know about this, but I don't know, she might be joining us because I forwarded the details to it, because she specifically contacted me saying, I want to be a non-executive board director. Bing! Great. What can I do to make this happen? That's the big question, okay? And then we drilled down to a few things. And this is my question to you because it was my question to her. I want you to think of the last 3 times somebody came to you for your expertise, your knowledge, for what you are brilliant at. Can you take a moment and just think of that? So when is the last time that somebody came to you, sought you out and said, Amal, May, Sausan, how, Rayhana, can you help with this? And it was a drill down to what you are brilliant at. But that's not all. It's not about what you know. It's actually about how you do it, right? Today, Amal, brilliant. So that's a big thing I want you to take on board. You know, at the end of this session, I'd like you to get a notebook or something, your phone, dictate it, voicemail, doesn't matter. And just say to yourself, you know what? These are the last 3 times somebody came to me asking these questions. And they were because I am brilliant at this. That's the thing, I believe, that you need to lean into. It's your power, I am the go-to person for this. It pivots on what you know, yes, but that's not the important bit. It's about actually how you do it. Especially with the internet now, people can pretty much find out whatever they want, but they still come to people like Amal for whatever it is that you helped with today, because your life's journey, your knowledge, your ability, your experiences, your gut instinct, which kicks in after you've done things over and over again and you're really good at it, because it's the culmination of what you do, what you know, how you do it, how you pass it on to people so that you're enabling them to do whatever it is that you're brilliant at, whatever it is that they need you for. So I want you to do that. Last time this happened, last 3 times it happened. Now, is it the same thing each time? Is it the same kind of thing, or does it change drastically? Again, that's for you to know. Dunya, it's definitely always because they need my personal approach rather than the textbook knowledge. Absolutely. That is it. And that's the kind of thing you can't really bottle up always. It is about the way you do it, your insight, the way you join up the dots. And this ability to join up dots, it's a huge part of what I go through in the S.H.E.Strategy, which is get out of your silo, your corporate silo, your professional silo, and look around you. What are the headlines saying? What are the industry trends, global trends? What's happening out there? How do you join up the dots of what you do and know with what's going on out there, the challenges, the problems, the issues of the day. If you're able to do that and think like what I call it the spider's web way of thinking. So you're not linear, you are multifaceted, multi-directional, a bit like the dragonfly, actually, come to think of it. Yeah, that's right. This ability to have multiple places you're looking at the same time and gather information. Yeah. If you can do that, which you can, but it's about how you go about it. That's the thing. And when you start thinking out of the box and you start thinking about how to put yourself out there in a different way that is out of the box, that's gold. Because you get more exposure in the right circles, in the right way. People come to you who might be really far removed from your day-to-day job, but they still need your way of doing this thing that you're brilliant at, okay? That's really what I want for you, and you can do this. Here's a question. Are you brilliant at what you do? Please give me a yes. If you are, and I assume you are. If it's a yes, then it's capital yes, right? Are you brilliant at what you do? Yes, yes, yeah, absolutely. So, when's the last time you lost out on an opportunity that you would have been brilliant at? Because you are brilliant at what you do. Nada, the best. Jacqueline, yeah, absolutely. You are brilliant, yeah? When's the last time you missed out on an opportunity, even though you know you would be brilliant at it? Anybody? You know, whenever last week, Zainab, many times, Amal, 2 weeks ago, yeah, this is the big deal, right? You can be brilliant, but you can not be sustainable, if that makes sense. What do I mean by this? You know, people come and they say, right, I am great at this. I'm going to be fine financially. I can earn that much. Well, let me give you a reality check. It's not about what you could do and be. It's about what you do, what you do earn, what you do make out of your life. How many of you have taken time off work for any reason? It could be birth of a child, parent, partner moving, relocating, you going and following your partner. It doesn't matter. How many of you have taken time off work or want to take time off work because you predict that at some point you want to start a family or that your parents might need you, whatever. So it's part of that mix for you. Masuma, rarely. Great. Do you mean rarely taking time off work? Or, right, you've taken time off work. Jamal, yeah, Rehana, Nora, won't again. Nora, I don't know why you say won't again, but that's interesting. So the reason I say this is because, yeah, Masuna, you rarely take time off work. And when I take time off, I don't mean for holidays, by the way. I mean because you've either hit a wall, because you know, we've been talking throughout the day and hearing from people who talk about work-life balance and all these sorts of things. So time off work usually happens because somebody feels stuck. They can't do it all, juggle all the balls in the same way and stay sane. I mean, it's really that simple. Okay. So something has to give. And the idea is, I don't want it to be you. I don't want you to break. So most people, the way they approach this is they say, I need to take some time off work, or I need to part-time for a while, or I'd love to do that project, go for that promotion, but I'm not going to. So that's kind of like time off work in my book as well, because it's holding yourself back and saying, I can, but I can't, right? So Rehana, need to unwind. Yes. So I'm just going to read this. Shifa, we always have a constant feeling of guilt when we spend too much time working, but feel guilty when we take time off as well. Right. That's you're right, but that's a different conversation. Kind of. It feeds into what I'm going to say, though, in this way. My big thing is this. I believe in choice. I believe in your freedom to choose whatever is right for your life, for your values, for your stage and phase of life. Life is a journey. It's phases. Your priorities will change according to what's going on in your life. I believe, again, it's really important for you to choose the right thing for you. But to do so, knowing the realities that happen as a result. Not because I don't want you to choose time off if that's what works for you, but because I want you to change the way you approach it. I'll give you an example. For every 1 year that a woman takes off work, the financial loss over the course of her lifetime is equal to her taking 4 years off earning. I'll say that again. If you take 1 year off work, it's the equivalent of not earning for 4 years over the course of your lifetime. Why? Because the incremental increases in salary and perks and so on don't catch up. They never do. You never make up for the amount of money that you lost on, but it's not just the amount. It's not just the salary that's gone. It's everything that is associated and linked to that salary too. If a woman takes 5 years off work, for example, it's the equivalent of losing out on 20% of your lifetime's earnings. Okay, so I want that to sink in. And the idea is this: I don't advocate that you chain yourself to a desk. I advocate that you do the right thing for you, your values, your everything. But when you are working, you do what I call lean into your earning potential. Lean into your earning potential. What does that mean? It means that when you are at work, I mean, you've gone to work, you've shown up, it could be virtual, whatever. You've allocated that time, that commitment. It's happening. So lean into your earning potential. If there's a promotion, a project, a something, a board position, whatever, go for it. Don't think of but what if it is actually about a huge change in yourself, which is, I'm going to lean into my earning potential because that actually gives me more choice in life, not just professionally, but financially too. Because when you lean into your earning potential, and ideally you keep some of that money, you don't go around spending it, that gives you choice in life. Really big. Now, you might think, actually, this doesn't apply to me because I'm fine. Now, how many of you can afford never to earn money again? Anyone? Well, most of us need to earn to survive. And so unless you are a trust fund kid or somebody else is paying your way in life 100% forever, you need to take note of these realities. If you take time off, there is a financial cost that stays with you for life. If you do not take time off because of the way the corporate world is structured, you still pay a financial penalty. I'll give you an example. Man and woman, they join at age 25. They've got specific expertise. They are high earners. They earn $110,000 in their first year. So that's their first job, entry level, 25 years old, $110,000. I don't know if you earned $110,000. It's a lot of money. I'm using this specific example to show you what that means over the trajectory of life. Okay, so let's call, I don't know, Tariq and Lena. Okay, just for the hell of it. So they enter the same level, stage, time, 110 each. And they are promoted at the same level and stage each time. They mirror each other's careers, okay? At the end of life, when they have finished working and no longer earn, what is the difference in lifetime's earnings? What do you think between Tariq and Lena? They've both started at the same point, same salary, same increases of promotions and so on. Not necessarily the same financial increases because of gender and so on. What is the difference in their retirement pot? Is it $100,000, $400,000, $800,000? Which is it? What do you think? Anyone? Just give me a shot in the dark here. Somebody. 400, 800, 400. Anybody else? 100, 400, 800. Well, the answer is it's regional specific. That's a good one. This is in the US basically, yeah? So imagine US, UK figures, they mirror each other. Canada, that kind of thing. The answer is $800,000. So the woman on that trajectory, the high earning woman, has $800,000 missing from her paycheck. And that's not okay by me. Now, imagine that this woman leaner takes time off at some point. It could be short period, long period. It could be part-timing or actual total time off, whatever that thing is. It is a great gap. It's huge. Of course, that $800,000 gap starts getting bigger. But if you look at the graphs, basically it ends up with this very high earning woman being broke before she dies, based on lifespan and so on, based on her having to look after herself. Yeah. And so it is not about how much money you could earn, about what you do know. It's about how you actually live your life and go about leaning into your earning potential when you are working, figuring out how you can sustain your version of success. And by sustain, I mean be able to show up and do that thing. There is no point in getting fantastic degrees, in having fantastic projects under your belt, if you cannot sustain that. So you hit a wall, or you say no to an opportunity, whatever that thing is, right? There is no point in all this great stuff if you cannot sustain it. Where does the gap come from? I'll just answer that question. The $800,000 gap comes from the tiny differences in raises along the way, the incremental increases in salary along the way. So they don't mirror each other. They might start off at the same point, but the journey for the male, his financial journey takes off more than hers, right? So that's one of the reasons. Huge issue. But going back to the law of averages and average lives, many thousands of people as a research cohort, for example. Here's the deal. We know the gender pay gap to be how much, what percent it is. We're told it is 80%. Okay. So we are told, the media tells us that the gender pay gap is 80%, 80 cents to every dollar a woman earns, 80 cents to every dollar a man earns. That's not true, because it only takes into account women who are working at the point that the data was gathered. All right. So if you are at work when that data is gathered, you are part of those figures. If you've taken a step out of work for whatever reason, at whatever level you're at, you're not part of those figures. And that means that the pay gap is it bigger or smaller? It'll be bigger. And so this is the last thing I'll say about absolutely bigger. And how big is it? And this is what interests me. I'm interested in reality, not rhetoric. I'm interested in understanding what words mean and how things come about, because actually your life matters, my life matters. So if we know what we're up against, we are more likely to change the way we go about things. That's the big takeaway. I want you to take that away with you. Your life happens every day. Don't wait. Don't wait for a government or a company or some policy to come in. Do it yourself, because you have to show up to your own life every day. Huge thing. So bearing that in mind, what can you do? Well, I've spent a lot of my life talking to, working with, training people at the top of their game. So the C-suite, governments, people in leading industry, and so on. What they do is they have something to say, and they say, how are we going to say this in a way that gets us the results that we want? And then they contact somebody like me, and we go through a process and we figure that out. A couple of years ago, I was like banged over the head when I realized, wait a minute. First of all, I'm actually mostly, pretty much 99% of the time, the only woman in the room. One. Two, there was a woman in the room. There was a woman in the room towards the end of 2018, just when the height of U2 and all that stuff was happening, Me Too, and the pay gap was happening. And the executives were being prepped for a huge annual event. They were going to be taking part in panels, discussions, and so on. And the woman in the room was a VP of a huge part of the world, excellent at what she does. And she was being prepared to take part in one panel discussion. What was it? Any guesses? It was inclusion and diversity. Yeah, women in power, you know. So basically, she was being wheeled out by this multinational to exactly something female related, absolutely, to prove to the audience and to the world, this is a huge annual global event. Yeah, look, we have a woman and she's fine. Okay, and we're going to get her to tell you about this. And I said to her, It was gender, it was diversity and inclusion, yes. And I said to her, if I was in the audience, and especially if I was a journalist in the audience, I would ask you one question and it would tell me everything about the company. And the question is, are you paid the same as your male counterpart? What do you think the answer was? Anyone? So actually there was silence in the room, total silence. The woman in question, just her eyes widened. The men in the room looked down at the pieces of paper. They're her colleagues, you know. She didn't say anything, but that was the answer. The answer is no. Of course, she's not paid the same, unfortunately, as her male counterpart. And so I just thought to myself, wait a minute, this is not okay. She is being trained to advocate for her company, her industry. She can't advocate for herself. That was a huge wake-up call for me. This is not okay. The other thing is this, where are the men? You know, when I'm on stage chairing an event, I do not see, well, I certainly don't see the same amount of women as men, but actually I rarely have women alongside me. And those who are alongside me, again, don't always do what I call showcasing their brilliance in a fantastic way, not because it's their fault, but because they haven't been given the tools, the skills, the knowledge to be able to do this and nail it. All right. So I just want you to understand that I come to this from a very different perspective, which is I practice what I preach. I'm on stage. I am in the media. I am doing all the things that I train people to do, because here's the deal. I have come across so many bits of advice and training that I personally am challenged by. I don't live by it. For example, have 6 words on your slide. Woohoo! This is actually training that's out there. I don't know if any of you have done it. First of all, do not use slides. That's my first thing. Death by PowerPoint. It's not pleasant. Don't go there. 2, okay, 6 words. What 6 words? How do you choose the words that you're going to use? When you have an event, you're going to be speaking, chairing, making a presentation, where does the majority of your time go? And stress levels. Is it on the words that you're choosing? Is that where it really goes? Is it on, I don't know, the setup, what it looks like, the place, you know, on what you're going to wear? I don't know. What is it? Where does the majority of your time go when you are preparing for something that you're going to be saying to showcase your expertise and brilliance or participate? Anyone? Where does your time go? Content. Yeah. The majority of people spend the majority of their time on their content. Ooh, I have an alarm for a reason. Here's the deal. People will not remember every word you said. If you're lucky, they'll remember 3 things that you said, killer facts that are really important, okay? Or that are relevant. But they will remember how you made them feel. It sounds so unreasonable, right? But that is actually the truth of the matter. I have a master's in medical engineering. I am very interested in how the brain works, what makes us make certain decisions and not others. And it's really interesting, the neuroscience of this, the brain-based work around this. What makes certain people chosen, noticed, remembered, and not others? So the next time you have something to say, I want you to, of course, nail your message. Less is more. Have 3 killer points that you want to make, no more. If you can whittle it down to less than 3, even better. And then put it aside. The more important bit, assuming you are brilliant and you know what you're talking about, right? It's a given, is how are you going to be when you do this? So it's things like, how do you feel on the inside? How do you look on the outside? And I don't mean lipstick and colors. I mean, that's great, but that's not where I'm going with it. It's not about this. It's about literally your chemical makeup on the inside. If you're okay on the inside, it'll leak out. It really does. And it'll be part of your package, who you are, how you're going to do it. Yes, there are other things I could say to you. For example, you're speaking to a room, you walk to the middle of the stage and you look down and across the top of people's heads, for example, but you look at people. Don't bury yourself. Don't stand behind a podium unless you really need to. And if you really need to, because the microphone is attached to it, I say lean on it, go to the side. So that, I mean, I don't mean like that, but have it to the side of you so that you are still visible. You're still very much front and center. You're not hidden behind a barrier. Yes, these are lots of tips and things that you can take away. Why? Because people will remember you for the right reasons. And the next time there is something that you can do that they think, we need this person to do that. I know just the person. Who gets the call? Who gets the tap on the shoulder? You do. Yeah. And that's the big thing. To wrap up, before I go through some of your comments, I want to say this to you. The irony for me is you can be fantastic. You can be a world global expert in something really niche. If people don't know who you are and how to find you, who cares? You know, you're not part of the mix. So how can you influence people? When I say influence, I mean two things. One, when you have something to say and you say it in this way, and you are this person who is able to showcase their brilliance and raise their profile and sustain their success so they don't disappear for 5 years and not get heard of. Even if you've got time off work, there are ways to keep yourself part of the mix, by the way. They remember you. So you have influenced them. You've influenced them because they remember you the next time there is something that you can do that they need from somebody like you. The second definition of influence is this. When you need something to change, you are able to influence people because of the way you put things across. You're able to get buy-in from people and bring about that result that you really need. It could be something in your private life. It could be something in your professional life. Doesn't matter. These skills are applicable in every sphere of life because we're human. The way we think, react, notice, remember, what peeks out, the brain, how it works. This is so important and it's so, generic. It's applicable in every aspect of your life and in every situation, whether you are pitching for a project, speaking at a meeting, on stage, or talking to your teenage child. It's actually the same way of being and going about things. And I call these core skills. A lot of people call them soft skills. That is wrong. These are core to you and core to your life. Why? If you are able to communicate what you need, what you want, where you are headed, where your ambition and ability lie, in a way that is relevant, that resonates with whoever you're speaking with, and that is remembered, key word, remembered for the right reasons, guess what? The rest happens by default. You get buy-in. You are remembered, and you get that tap on the shoulder. And so it breaks my heart that none of us are taught how to go about these core skills for life. Core. Because if you can't get buy-in for that change that you need to happen, that enables you to sustain your success, your life, your company, your something, you pay a huge price. And for women, the financial price is much, much larger than a man's financial price. I'll give you an example. Women are 3 times more likely to live below the poverty line in their 70s. Okay? And these are big, big global figures. If we think about it, if women are 3 times more likely, then with everybody here, a lot of you are going to be in that situation. Yeah? Unless you say, my child, my family's going to look after me, whatever. I think that you can't predict anything. You can't plan really like that. I believe in dignity. I believe in choice, and I believe in informed choice. When you know what you're up against, I believe you will change your approach to things and the way you go about things. I want you to have this one saying embedded in your head. The braver I am, the luckier I get. I want you to be brave, to go for those things. And if you want to, get in touch with me, I would love to be part of your journey, because it's about breaking things down into tools and skills so that you can communicate to resonate and to influence. Isn't it really ridiculous that we're so brilliant at so many niche things, but it boils down to a people skill, essentially? If you can't do that, you're stuck. Right. Oh, thank you, Tarek. Tarek's just put my details up there. I'm going to see what time it is right now. We've got a few more minutes. I'm going to say this to you. I'm going to quickly scroll through gender diversity. Yeah, I mean, we've been, Fatima, maybe you can get in touch with me. You can have this conversation. Is the percentage loss of earning potential the same at any stage of career development? Okay, actually, I'll answer this right now, because this is important for you to know. Did you know that the higher up the ladder you get, right, the bigger the pay gap gets? I'll say that again. The higher up the ladder you are, the bigger the pay gap. So the other interesting thing is this. So I had this woman who got in touch with me. As you know, I mentioned it earlier. She said she wants to be a non-executive director. How can she go about it? And how can, we work together to make it happen? And I want you to remember to do that exercise. When's the last time somebody came to you for your expertise? What did they want? When's the last 3 times? Are they the same thing, right? And then drill down to defining what you are the go-to person for. Not what you know, it's what you know, married with how you do it as well. Anyway, so that's one thing. The other reason that people have been getting in touch with me over the last 10 days, in fact, or so, is a lot of the time it's a money-related issue. I'm in this job, I'm great at what I do. They're not paying me the same as my male peers. Or another one today, for example, was I am brilliant at what I do. I've had so many job opportunities outside of my company, and they won't pay me my current salary. What? And the point I want to make is this. Part of the work I do with people is, yes, explaining, passing on the knowledge of how to resonate, be remembered, and all the rest of it, but also the importance of getting out of that silo that I mentioned earlier and looking around you for trends and facts and figures. I want you to think of facts and figures that are relevant to you, what you do, your industry, and what you want and need. Those are your new friends. So I'll give you an example. We're talking about women in the boardroom, okay? How many of you know killer facts around this? So just 2 killer facts. Do you know 3? Do you know 5? Okay. Now imagine you were going to talk to your place of work and say, I want to be a candidate for a board position. Would you dream of doing that? If not, why not? But it's about how you do this. It's about the words that you choose to suit the situation and the phase that your company is at. Tune into what your company is saying, putting out. Tune into what industry, research, government's best practice is saying and putting out. And it's about marrying those words. What words do you choose and use to get people to tune into what you're saying, to get why it's important for them? Did you know that if I was on the board, we would solve this issue? You have a government mandate, for example. Or did you know that women in this industry are 3 times more likely to bring about innovative, out-of-the-box solutions for this problem that we're facing? Whatever those stats are, know them and then use them to suit the occasion. Really important. So I want you to practice these things. 1, get out of your silo. 2, notice the words that people around you are using. If you want a position, it's about knowing what the words they use are, not what you want to say. What do they say? They need, want, are interested in, are dealing with. How can you marry the two? Be brave. Put your hand up and go for it. Really important. Okay, we have very little time left. So I want to say to you two things. Feeding off today's discussions, I heard a lot of people asking about work-life balance. I want to say to you, this is my kitchen wall. Can you see it? Can you see my kitchen wall? This was years ago. My son was at school at this stage. I made a decision not to travel when he was born, although he was the world's youngest not Davos, but the World Economic Forum, because it was not in Davos at that time, delegate. He went with me. And at this stage, he was at school, and I was going to take my first multi-night trip. I didn't have childcare. I'm a single parent, and my childcare for this trip fell through. Heart attack, okay? My friend, bless her, she stepped in. I left. I don't know if you can see this. It says Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, every single thing that's always in our brains, I dumped it onto the kitchen wall tiles. I left messages for them. I cooked every meal because I didn't want to trouble her any more than she was already being hassled. And I'm sharing that because this is what we all have to deal with at some point, at some phase. If it's not your child, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's your own health, whatever that thing is. Life is phases. Life is phases. Your priorities will change with your phases of life. Part of what I do in my first module, for example, is drilling down to what you need right now in your current phase. It's about getting the 360 of your needs and wants out there. Yeah. And at the end of the program, we look at future you, where you're headed, and then how does that change your needs and wants and what you need and so on. I just wanted to share that with you to let you know that it happens. And that's why it's so important that we are able to sustain ourselves. Okay. Now, there's one more thing I want to do before I wrap up, which is, can I get rid of this? I can, I think, which is another screen share. I want you, if you can stand, to stand up, please, and speak the words of my poem. Each module in the S.H.E.Strategy ends with a poem because it's easier to remember stuff when it's in a poem form, right? And I just want you, will you say it with me? And I'm going to start after 1. So count down from 3. 3, 2, 1. It's time to show up, speak up, and step up. Heck, I'm brilliant and will put my hand up. What's holding me back is what I and others think about me. It's time, though, for me to be the change I want to see. It's not just about me. It's for me, those around me, and yes, my family. I hope you've enjoyed the session. I'm going to be heading over to the booth. Is that what it is? To the booth. So if you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to join me. And yeah, the last thing I will say to you is this. The last line in that, it's not just about me. It's for me, those around me, and yes, my family. When you are able to sustain yourself in your phases of life, and you are able to be that thing that you want to go for, where your ambition and ability lie, other people see you. They relate to you. They emulate you. I don't believe in top down. I believe both top down and bottom up, right?